To add fuel to the fire to the turmoil and chaos that's been going on in Stillwater around the Oklahoma State Cowboys football program, their defensive coordinator, Derek Mason, decides to retire from coaching. With that being said, who do I think the Oklahoma State Cowboys and Coach Mike Gundy should go after to be the next DC of the football team? Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz. Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up and let me serve you up another shot of top shelf college football content on tap. In today's episode, we're talking Oklahoma State Cowboys. We're talking about the potential defensive coordinator that will replace Derek Mason in Stillwater. This would be their third defensive coordinator in 3 years. Mason came in, was there in 2022 to replace Jim Knowles, who left to go to Ohio State. Mason decided he wanted to spend more time with his family, so he stepped down as the DC of the Cowboys. So, who will Mike Gundy select to replace Derek Mason? Well, I've got a list. Now, some of these names are names you will know, and some of them may not be. Some may be a little off the radar, but are guys who I think should at least get interviews and that Coach Gundy should at least consider for the position. So let's go over that list. Number one on the list is an internal candidate, and this seems to be the one guy that most fans and even some Oklahoma State media folks seem to think would be the most likely to land the job, and that is current Oklahoma State defensive line coach, or actually, I think he coached linebackers in 2022, but up until then, he had coached defensive linemen, and that's Bob Clements. He was the defensive line coach in Stillwater since 2013. Like I said, he moved over in 2022 to coach the linebackers. But he's also spent time coaching defensive linemen at Kansas State, Kansas, and San Diego State. So he has extensive assistant coaching experience coaching D linemen. I don't think he's ever been a defensive coordinator, but he's familiar with Mike Gundy's culture. He's familiar with what he wants to do there. They wouldn't have to change the scheme around. He would be familiar with the scheme. There could be some continuity there by just promoting him to the DC. That's assuming, of course, Mike Gundy has confidence in him to actually call the defense as a full-time play caller. Does he have that in him? I guess we'll see. Next on the list, an outside candidate, and to me, this is probably the biggest no-brainer of them all, and that's Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson, of course, we all know, was the head coach of the TCU Horned Frogs from 2000 through 2021 or into 2021 before he was essentially fired from that position. Legendary head coach. I mean, he took TCU to heights they'd never seen before up until now, obviously. Sonny Dykes continued that and took them even further and took them to a national championship game. But what Gary Patterson did at TCU was remarkable. He put them on the map, got them into a Power 5 conference, took them to their first New Year's Six bowl games, had undefeated seasons, just took them to heights they had never seen before, and has been known around college football his entire career as a defensive guru. Dana Holgorsen used to always rave about Gary Patterson and how good of a defensive coach he was. That continued when Neil Brown came over to coach West Virginia. In press conferences when they played TCU, they'd always talk about how great of a defensive mind he was and how you would never see the same defensive scheme twice in a game. If you beat them on a play, he would not go back to that line or that play again on defense. I mean, he was just that good. He can make adjustments that fast in the middle of games and keep your offense on their toes for an entire game. Before being at TCU, he spent a lot of time coaching defenses at New Mexico State and Utah State. Coached at a lot of smaller programs before that, and started off his coaching career as a grad assistant at his alma mater, Kansas State, in 1982. Right now, Gary Patterson, or at least this past season, Gary Patterson was a special assistant to the head coach at Texas under Steve Sarkisian and was basically running the defense there, or at least had a hand in running the defense there for the Longhorns program. And they did improve in 2022. Obvious improvement in 2022 with that Texas defense. The next one on the list, and is one Mountaineer fans would know about. Actually, the next two on the list Mountaineer fans will be familiar with, but the first one is Jamal Adai. Jamal Adai in 2022 was a defensive backs coach at the University of Miami under Mario Cristobal there. He spent the 2021 season as a defensive backs coach for Georgia, helped them win a national championship, really improved the defensive secondary at Georgia during his 1 year there. Before that, he spent 2 years on the staff at West Virginia. He came in 2019 to coach the secondary under then DC Vic Koenning. And then in 2020, when Vic Koenning left the program, he was bumped up to co-defensive coordinator alongside current defensive coordinator Jordan Leslie. And under the tutelage of Leslie and Adai as co-DCs, West Virginia finished top 5 in the country in defense that year. They had a fantastic defense in 2020, one of the top in the nation. I know they were at least top 10. I'm pretty sure they were top 5 that year. One of the top defenses in the college football under Jordan Leslie and Jamal Adai as co-defensive coordinators. After 2020, he left, became to take the job at Georgia. But before coming to West Virginia, he also had coaching experience at Arizona and Minnesota at the Power 5 level. It's understood that Jamal Adai does have the desire to be a head coach one day, so this would be a natural progression move for him. No one's exactly sure why he left West Virginia. There's been a lot of rumors out there. There was a lot of rumors that he was upset that he got passed over for the full-time DC job for Leslie. There were rumors that he and Neil Brown didn't see eye to eye. But nonetheless, Jamal Adai has been known as a great recruiter, and players do like to play for him. That's no secret. It seems like everywhere he goes, players that he has coached seem to want to follow him because he's that good of a coach. And he's also a good recruiter. He's from Florida, so he would help open up some Florida recruiting lines for Oklahoma State if they bring him into Stillwater. Now, last on the list, I told you earlier, another one who's got ties to West Virginia. West Virginia fans will know. And I mentioned his name in the Jamal Adai breakdown, and that's Vic Koenning. Vic Koenning was the defensive coordinator in 2019, the first year Neil Brown was here. Defense did pretty well. They were okay. They weren't great, but keep in mind, they were just transitioning over from Dana Holgorsen and Tony Gibson's defense to Neil Brown and Vic Koenning's defense. In the offseason between 2019 and 2020, there was a little bit of controversy in the program. He had a Muslim player on the team that he apparently was trying to convert to Christianity. That player made that player feel uncomfortable. And there was reportedly, this is all alleged now, there was allegedly some remarks that Koenning made that were a little insensitive around Black Lives Matter and things like that. The player didn't feel comfortable with, and because of that, Koenning decided to step down and resign as defensive coordinator of West Virginia. And of course, after that is when they promoted Leslie and Adai to co-defensive coordinators for a season. But Koenning has popped back up. He's now the defensive coordinator at University of Louisiana Monroe. He got hired there in 2022, spent the 2022 season there in Louisiana. He's got extensive experience as defensive coordinator with programs across the country. He's been defensive coordinator at Troy 2 different times. He was there in 2015 to 2018 under Neil Brown. He was also there back in 2003, 2004. He's been defensive coordinator at Wyoming, Clemson, Kansas State, and Illinois. Even has a little bit of head coaching experience. He was a head coach at Wyoming for a few years and was interim head coach at Illinois for a season. Did not have much success as a head coach. I think his record's like 6-29 or something like that. So not good as a head coach, but he has done a fantastic job as defensive coordinator at several different stops. And I think Vic Koenning deserves a second chance. I think deep down Vic Koenning's a good guy. He may have made some remarks he probably shouldn't have made. They were not racist remarks. They were just maybe insensitive remarks, or maybe he just didn't read the room well. And obviously, as when you're a head coach, you've got to kind of leave your political, social, and religious views at the door. And he didn't do that, and I think that got him in a little bit of trouble. But by all accounts, and from everything I've heard about Vic Koenning, is he's a good person, and players do seem to respect and like him for the most part. So I think he does deserve a second chance to coach at the Power 5 level again. And I would love to see Mike Gundy go out and bring him back or into the Big 12 and give him a chance there at Oklahoma State. Now, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Oklahoma State fans, is there anybody on this list that shouldn't be on the list? Is there somebody I should have added to the list? Is there somebody you would like to see? I want to hear from Oklahoma State fans. Who would you like to see as the next defensive coordinator for your Cowboys team? Would you like to see him promote Bob Clements? Would you like to see him bring in an experienced DC like a Vic Koenning? Or was the controversy surrounding him a little bit too much there? Would you like to see him go out and make a splash hire like a Gary Patterson? I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know. If you liked this video right here, please hit that thumbs up button right below. It only takes a second. Please share this out with your college sports loving friends, especially if they're a Big 12 fan or a West Virginia Mountaineer fan. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the 1st of April. I'd love to be able to do that, but I need your help. So please hit that subscribe button if you want more Big 12 and West Virginia content. I may even give you a little bit more Oklahoma State content if that's what you wish. Also, you can support my channel financially in a couple different ways. You can check out my merch store. Link is at the top of the description box. You can check out the Fanatics link in my description box. Get your custom NIL jerseys or any other apparel you want to buy from Fanatics. That link is the link to the West Virginia NIL jerseys, but you don't have to buy that. If you're an Oklahoma State fan, that gets you into the site. Then you can search for the Oklahoma State NIL jerseys or any other apparel you want to buy. As long as you use that link to get you into the site, anything you buy from then on, I get a small commission from it. Also, you can join my channel, become a member by hitting the join button, take advantage of the perks that has to offer. Or you can make a one-time donation with the Heart Thanks option right below. It's a little heart with a dollar sign in the middle. Make a one-time donation and leave a comment to go along with it. That being said, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and until the next episode, Q Country Roads. West Virginia.